Hello, Toby Jones here and welcome to our first episode of Education Vault. And today we're going to be talking about Standard 1.8, specifically about what ASQA had to say at the recent ASQA briefing around the need for clear instructions within assessments. So why do we need clear instructions in assessments? Well, it's actually more about what happens if we have the lack of clear instructions within assessments and the knock-on effect. We could leave ourselves open to differing interpretations of the assessment. We could also lead to inconsistency in the assessment outcomes. And also our assessors, it's tricky to actually be able to elicit the appropriate response. And ultimately, doomsday scenario, we've actually created a non-compliant assessment framework. So what can we do about it? Well, we think actually we need to change the way we think about assessments themselves. And we need to think about assessments as being part of a process rather than as a standalone singular event. So in order to do this, we have to go right back to the beginning and ensure that we are informing students about the unit in its entirety, all of the assessments that it's made up of, and how the whole thing fits together. And within this, we have to have what we would call a criteria for success. What do I need to do as a student in order to complete and succeed in this unit? When do I need to have submitted my assessments by, and how am I going to be submitting those? From here, we need to ensure that within the unit, all the assessments have clear instruction written against each of the assessment tasks or instruments that make up that particular unit. Something you might want to try, which is something that we've implemented, is to actually take an assessment and actually chunk it down into individual stages that make sense within the assessment itself, and have instructions written to each of those stages. So to give you an idea of this, manage meetings, which is within the business unit. There's a practical assessment in there where a student actually has to take part in a meeting itself. Now, rather than taking this practical assessment and just writing a load of instructions at the beginning about how that assessment is going to be carried out, instead chunking it down into the stages the student is going to have to go through and write instructions next to each of those stages. So, for example, we have writing the agenda, stage 1, instructions how to do that. Stage 2, identifying what the leadership topics are going to be in the meeting. Stage 2, instructions for that. Stage 3, instructions about the meeting itself. The beauty here is that we're actually allowing students to go and follow the same journey together. By providing clear instruction at each of the stages and including what success looks like, what the assessor is going to be marking them against, we're creating consistency. Consistency in the assessment, but also leading to consistency in the judgment that the assessor makes for competency. The assessor needs to plan to get the answer that they need, and clear instruction provides the framework in order to do this. Here are a few tips and tricks and things to think about when writing your instructions for assessments.
Firstly, give clear instruction before the assessment. Explain what the students are going to be doing and why they're going to be doing it. Give context of how the assessment fits into the entire unit, and better still, how this may relate to a job outcome. And finally, the clearer the instruction and the more steps and stages required in a single assessment, the less room for individual interpretation. Remember, consistent instruction leads to consistent assessment, which results in consistency of assessment judgment for your RTO.